So raise your right hand and so join in.
A record number of new permanent residents were added to Canada's population last year, 431,645. But the big question is how many are here to stay.
So-called onward migration, that's immigrants who come and then leave, has been creeping up silently for decades, and it's gone pretty unnoticed.
A new report titled The Leaky Bucket finds the number of immigrants leaving Canada surged between 2017 and 2019 and has yet to stabilize.
Hello, so today we're gonna go to Canada, our neighbor up top from here in the US. And they are having a lot of immigration issues, almost similar to the US, but theirs, I think it's worse in terms of housing, because housing is a crisis. There's a housing crisis basically in Canada. The houses are so expensive, there are very few houses, and many immigrants, especially from India, have been going to Canada, and now some are leaving. But in this video, we're gonna go all the way to India to see how they start the journey, and then how they end up in Canada, and now how some are crossing into America. We're just gonna do a one long shot and continue, hopefully no very few edits. Before I begin, please consider liking and subscribing, and let's get to the video. Let's get to another video here. We've already seen in the first video that there's a growing number who are getting citizenship, but some are leaving. Even some are leaving after getting citizenship. But what's the reason? There might be rising anti-immigrant sentiment in Canada, like this video says from The Guardian. Already seen even that immigrant from India saying that there's a lot of marketing in India about coming to Canada, and it's all, paradise, you can pluck money from the trees. But how is it that many people from India end up in Canada? So this other video here, sorry, I'm skipping so many videos, but this video here from Fifth Estate kind of explains it, how many Indians end up in Canada. Now, the background story is many Indians in India, they try to come to Canada as students. In India, they get lots of recruiters who try to tell them that if you come to Canada, you're gonna get citizenship, you can go to these universities, and then you can get a good job and all these things. But they are being tricked. They are being sold a lie from the beginning. The lie is most of these universities that they're being sent to are for-profit universities. If you know anything about for-profits, I really despise for-profits. I think I even made a video about for-profit universities, how they prey on the unsuspecting. For-profit universities, most of they don't have good accreditation. So these families in India, they pay thousands of dollars. Sometimes they're told to pay like a year of fees, up to $20,000 in school fees to a for-profit, thinking that they're gonna be having like all these great degree and ability to live in Canada. But it just turns out to be not like a worthless degree at the end of the day. Okay, enough talking. Let's go to India and see how the process starts. We're just gonna watch like 3 minutes of this.
Here in India, the pitch to young people is clear. Canada needs immigrants. Canadian post-secondary schools need students. This is where the sales job starts. And as you're about to see, so too does the deception.
Hello.
For every kid with a dream to study and settle abroad, there's a long line of businesses just waiting to make a buck off them. These students are cramming for their high-stakes English proficiency exam. These prep programs run about $300 a pop. Fail here, and the dream dies.
Good afternoon, class. Please have a seat. So we are supposed to read just the questions. Before questions, what is important to read the instructions.
It's estimated more than 1 million Indian students take these classes every year, hoping for that golden ticket, an education in coveted countries.
With a show of hands, how many of you would like to go to Canada? And why Canada?
Much good education facilities are available for the students. So I think that's why I want to go to Canada.
I would love to go there just because it's environment and it's safe, and even the institutions provide a very good facility about the education.
I basically want to stay there, have my white collar job, and live a life that I have always dreamed of.
This school is regulated. The problem? Most aren't. There are an estimated 5,500 English proficiency schools in Punjab alone. Some give struggling students a passing grade for a price, setting them up for failure even before they leave India.
I'm calling from the Australian High Commission.
Listen in as one student who passed the exam is called to verify his English proficiency.
What was your score in English in your last semester?
Sorry, ma'am?
What was your English score in your last semester of bachelor's?
I want to study this course because I want to make my career as a business administration. I applied for MBA at Victoria University, Australia.
Do you have any questions for me?
No, ma'am, thank you.
The result? Teachers tell us some students show up to class in Canada unable to speak English.
Thinking about the students who would be talking during class, and it took us a while to figure out they were translating for each other. So then I thought, okay, so let me make little groups of 4 and let me get somebody who's really strong in English and make sure they can translate for the people who aren't. But it took a while to notice that that's what was happening.
But I mean, I know they have to pass an English proficiency test in order to get
Some
here.
people are very good at writing tests.
But not very good at speaking English.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, you see, the scam starts from home. It starts in India. There are so many recruiters. It's just a business for them. They're promising them heaven on earth. They're telling them if you go to Canada, you can get all these things, but you need to do English. And then, of course, that costs money. So the students pay. And then once you've already paid, you might as well just continue paying. So they continue paying, and then they are sent to Canada as international students. Reason being, international students pay so much more than typical Canadian student or a local Canadian would pay in universities. So these universities in Canada, it's like an agreement. They want more international students because they make more money with international students. And these poor Indians, by poor I don't mean like poverty in anything, I mean like people being taken advantage of. They are being taken advantage of because they have no clue that they are the victims in this scam. They are being scammed by the recruiters in India. When they arrive in Canada, they find out they have to work 40 to 50 hours because once you've already paid for the first semester, you still have to pay more. Some of them come from poor families where they have sold like their farms. And the video is very interesting. It tells, like, it features many students who are struggling now in Canada and even back home, showing how they started and how they ended up in Canada. Then they realize the realization that you're in a for-profit university or college, and that it was all just for money. So now what happens when you realize that you've been sold a lie? You bought in, you paid $20,000, your family paid $20,000 or more. You move to Canada, you meet this hurdle from the housing is crazy. You have to live with like 15 roommates because you can't afford housing. Even local Canadians cannot afford housing. Housing is terrible in Canada. So what happens then? The only other option is you have to try to move to America. So now it's just continuous movement because in the big cities in Canada, there's so many immigrants. You're gonna experience racism also. Let's face the truth there. There are lots of immigrants, Indian immigrants, who are facing terrible racism in Canada because, housing, poverty, and all the reasons. So now they are trying to cross from Canada into the US. So now they're becoming illegal also. So some are coming through Mexico, but this video is particularly about Canada. How these students come from India with a dream, end up in Canada, the dream turns to a nightmare. Then they decide to go down south to America. And now we're gonna finish off with this video of illegal immigration of Indian students from Canada into the US. So let's go to the video and see.
And now we move to Canada, where a startling trend is emerging at its border with the United States. Illegal immigration by Indians into the United States has skyrocketed to raising alarms on both sides. New data by the U.S. Border Patrol reveals that over 43,000 Indians were detained at the U.S.-Canada border. And during this period, approximately 10 Indians were arrested every single hour while attempting to cross into the United States.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection made over 14,000 arrests of Indian nationals attempting to cross the northern border over the past year. Indian nationals compose about 60% of all arrests made along the northern border, more than 10 times the number of arrests made 2 years ago.
Now the surge reflects a broader issue. In fact, Pew Research estimates over 725,000 undocumented Indians currently live in the United States, making them the third largest illegal immigrant population in the United States. But why are more Indians taking this perilous route as they leave Canada and head towards the United States? Experts point to a mix of factors, including political repression, rising extremism in Canada, and a long visa delay. In fact, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau even admitted that his government failed in cracking down on illegal immigration. Now, this comes almost 7 years after he promised to provide refuge to all asylum seekers coming into Canada.
Some saw that as a profit to game the system. We saw way too many large corporations do this. Looking back, when the post-pandemic boom cooled and businesses no longer needed the additional labor help, as a federal team, we could have acted quicker and turned off the taps faster.
Now, with more and more Indians fleeing Canada, Washington has put its borders on high alert. Moreover, as Donald Trump is poised to return to the White House, he's promising an aggressive crackdown on immigration. Led by his border czar, Tom Homan, Trump's team plans sweeping changes targeting both illegal crossings and Biden-era legal programs. And as the situation escalates, one question looms. Will the migrant crisis of the U.S.-Canada border dent bilateral relations between the two countries?
And so you see they are basically screwed from the beginning up to the end. They start in India, being tricked to come to Canada as international students. They land in Canada with all these promises. They realize it was a lie. And then now they have to do these jobs, delivery, work in warehouses and all these hard jobs in Canada. They face racism in the process. They face no housing. They face so many issues like, living so many roommates in the house. It's just a lie from the beginning. And then they get so desperate in Canada, then they're like, okay, now we're going to try America. Then they go down south to America, and then now they also have to face American issues. So it's like the only way maybe to stop this would be to stop it from the source, would be to educate them in India. They have to make translations of all these, because it's going to be very hard for them, because most of them don't speak good English. Based on the videos we saw, they are being passed the English test even though they are not very good at it. And then they arrive, so they're being set up for failure. And their money is gone. They've been basically scammed. And now they're desperate. They go down south. They're now the third largest illegal immigrants in the United States. And, you know, nobody likes to be hated. But that's the truth. Once they go to Canada, they will experience some hate, because they are being seen as they are taking over, like they're like invading, in quotes, Canada. There are so many Indians. I've seen so many videos, even on TikTok, of Indians experiencing discrimination in Canada. So it's not good. And don't forget about even recently in America, the issues of HB1 visa. What was it? I think that visa for tech workers. So it's not looking good. I think the only option would be to try to tell the people in India they should first close up all those illegal recruitment stuff that they're doing to send them to Canada, and then teach them the reality of what's going on once they arrive in Canada and in the US. Please consider liking and subscribing. I'll finish the video here. Like, subscribe, share on all the networks. See ya.
Oh my goodness, all the networks! Wow! All the networks!